Good day. Welcome to your news at noon on Kaieteur Radio. I'm Kevin Smith. In your news today, Guyana, new to the oil and gas sector, has over time received advice from several international agencies and has been the subject of many reports focused on ensuring the country adopts best practices when it comes to the management of the sector. However, the leadership of the country does not seem inclined to heed the advice unless Guyana is specifically mentioned in the reports. The Commonwealth Secretariat, of which Guyana is a member country, recently issued a report that warns of the various ways oil-producing nations can be robbed by petroleum companies when it comes to decommissioning or cleaning up the environment following the life of an offshore project. Despite this, President Ali said he will not respond to any question on advice given by the agency. And when asked by Kaieteur for an update on the audit of ExxonMobil's $7.3 billion Stabroek Block bills, President Ali responded, and I quote, "I can only tell you what you know." During a press conference held at State House, Ali spoke extensively about his recent visit to India and the business opportunities that arose for collaboration in the areas of health and wellness, agriculture, and the oil and gas sector. Following his presentation and that of other members of the private sector who were part of the Guyana contingent to India, Kaieteur asked the head of state for an update on the audit of ExxonMobil's expenses for the 2018 to 2020 period. The update was sought as it was he who announced last year that the results would be received from auditors in December of 2022. All he said is that he is happy the audit has commenced. Kaieteur also reminded the president of his promise that these audit reports would be released for public scrutiny. And now let's tell you, Guyana's head of state and vice president are not on the same page when it comes to the release of large-scale mining contracts. While Vice President Jagdeo publicly committed to the release of the agreements, President Ali, who repeatedly said his government is transparent, said he will explore whether this is a possibility. On the sidelines of a media engagement on Tuesday, President Ali was asked by Kaieteur when the government will be releasing the mining contracts, given the number of promises made to do so. In the absence of those agreements, Guyana remains in the dark regarding the benefits of the multi-billion-dollar sector. The country is unaware of the royalty rates, what percent Guyana is benefiting from, and how much of its resource is being extracted by foreign companies. The Irfan Ali-led administration has been repeatedly dodging calls for the release of large mining contracts. And in other news, an elderly couple was on early Tuesday morning found brutally murdered, and their two-story concrete home, which also housed an off-licensed liquor, beverage, and grocery store, was partially destroyed by fire at Yakusari, Blackbush Polder, Region 6. The murdered couple was identified as 60-year-old Saraswati Devi Budraj, called Sita, and 68-year-old Subnath Budraj, called Bullboy. As police scanned the location, Subnath's wife was found in the dining area, face down, with an object stuck in her neck and her left arm completely burnt off. Hours later, a 22-year-old who recently moved to Yakusari South admitted to the brutal double murder. Meanwhile, Town Clerk of the Georgetown M&CC, Candace Nelson, has withdrawn city constables from Mayor Ubraj Narain's out-of-town residence. Mayor Narain had written to the town clerk asking her to explain why security was removed from his Pigeon Island, East Coast Demerara residence. In a letter dated January 16th, addressed to Nelson, Mayor Narain questioned the authority by which Nelson made her decision to pull the security from his residence. Mayor Narain said he was never informed of the decision. As such, he said he will be holding Chief Constable Virginan Gafour and the town clerk responsible if he or his family is harmed. He said the issue would be taken to the City Council for a decision to be made. You're listening to Kaieteur Radio 99.1 and at 99.5 FM. This is the news at noon. We'll return shortly after the break.
Wanting to protect your family during these difficult times of COVID-19 is natural.
Stay at home, wash your hands often, and don't touch your face.
Yes, Daddy.
But are you doing these things too? And do you practice social distancing? Do you keep 3 to 6 feet away when you're shopping? Or at least stay an arm's length away in the supermarket? Remember, children learn from adults. So if you're not obeying the precautions, neither will they. We have to work towards the new normal together to keep our families safe and protected. Be part of the solution, don't add to the problem. Teach by example and do the right things.
A message from the Child Care and Protection Agency, Ministry of Human Services and Social Security, and UNICEF.
Boost your sales with BOGO offer. Get double the radio ads in January when you advertise with Kaieteur Radio. Buy one, get one free. Contact us today on 226-7455 to discuss our advertising packages.
Welcome back. Students of Christchurch Secondary School will next week resume in-person classes at the Cyril Potter College of Education, Turkine campus on the east coast of Demerara. The decision was made following a meeting of parents on Tuesday at Queen's College. Over 500 students of the school were displaced last Thursday when fire completely destroyed the school located on Middle and Camp Streets, Georgetown. We understand that at the meeting, very few parents requested transfers for their children, but the majority decided that they would like the children to stay together at one location. As such, CPCE was decided on. Meanwhile, a Guyanese man recently spent 4 to 5 days in a Venezuelan jail after he was caught using a false identification card in that country. The man, identified as 47-year-old Chandrika Prasad, is presently being represented by an organization called the Representative of the Guyanese Community in Venezuela. According to the president of the organization, Antonio Hamraj, Prasad was detained at a checkpoint in Venezuela after the Venezuelan National Guard stationed there found that the identification number of his Venezuelan ID card was not registered in the country's legal system. Meanwhile, the minibus driver who fatally struck Lyndon Johnson while he was crossing New Road Vredenhoop last Friday was on Tuesday charged with causing death by dangerous driving. The driver, 40-year-old Claude Pilgrim, pleaded not guilty to the charge, which stated that on January 13th, he drove a minibus in a manner dangerous to the public, causing the death of 56-year-old Johnson. The driver was placed on $300,000 bail and is scheduled to return to court on February 13th. And in other news, the government of Guyana has proposed an increase of $40.4 billion to continue its building and maintenance of the country's roads and bridges. In 2022, the government expended $95.7 billion, but this year's budget, as presented by Senior Minister of Finance Dr. Rashni Singh, is proposing $136.1 billion. Minister Singh said that in 2022, an amount of $67.9 billion was expended to improve the country's road connectivity across the 10 administrative regions. Meanwhile, the government has budgeted $4.7 billion for development programs and initiatives specifically tailored to improve the livelihoods of the Amerindian people. Senior Minister of Finance Dr. Rashni Singh revealed in his 2023 budget presentation that since taking office in 2020, the government was greeted with an array of issues facing Amerindian people. Dr. Singh revealed that this year, an amount of $500 million has been budgeted to advance the Amerindian land titling activities. He shared that in 2022, in fulfilling their obligations to safeguard and improve the security of land tenure for the indigenous people, 5 additional demarcations have been completed as part of the Amerindian land titling program. The time has now moved on to 12 hours 11. As usual, we turn the pages of today's Kaieteur News to page 7, dedicated to being blunt. 2023 budget. For every dollar budgeted for PPP friends, citizens get a penny. The PPP government studied how to skin poor Guyanese in this year's budget. $10 more monthly for public assistance, $25 monthly for pensioners. Cost of living in Guyana is now the cost of dying. Budget relief only brings more grief, and this is an economy on overdrive steroids. And that brings us to the end of today's News at Noon. I'm Kevin Smith. Thank you for listening.
Want value for your advertising dollar? Then place your ads on Kaieteur Radio's newscasts. Streamed live on 6 different mediums, reaching hundreds of thousands. Advertise today and watch your dollar grow. Call us on 225-8465 or 226-8210 today.
This is GHK Lal inviting you to join me weekdays from Monday to Friday on the National Outlook for commentary on a range of issues.